We are counting down 10 Sydney suburbs where the $2 million median has either arrived or taken hold, ranked by what each crossing reveals about the market's direction. Some sit on coastal land you would expect to command a premium. Others are outer west family suburbs that 5 years ago traded below $1 million. The distance between those two stories is where the real affordability warning lives. Starting at number 10. In the 10th place, Bronte represents a fully matured premium market. With a median house price of $6.2 million, this coastal enclave shows what happens when extreme land scarcity meets elite buyer demand. Tracking 36-month CoreLogic and PropTrack trendliness shows that despite a recent 30% quarterly drop from an 8.1 million peak, Bronte's long-term compound growth rate remains exceptionally high. Tightly held housing stock and low sales turnover mean a handful of premium transactions keep the median pinned high, warning buyers that scarcity can easily distort the true entry price. Number 9. Cammeray shows how proximity, rather than coastal glamour, reprices a suburb. By June 2025, a rapid 20% quarterly surge pushed Cammeray's median house price to $3.375 million. This shift is not driven by speculative buying, but by severe supply constraints and stable owner-occupier demand. Buyers seeking proximity to lower North Shore employment hubs and elite schools face extremely low transaction volumes. With detached homes tightly held over long periods, even minor increases in family demand trigger sharp price increases, locking out upper-middle income earners who once viewed this quiet enclave as a realistic alternative. In 8th place, North Curl shows how a pure lifestyle market holds its ground. Despite a 15.1% decline from its peak, the suburb's median house price settled at $3.61 million in 2025, remaining comfortably above the $2 million threshold. 3-year trendlines from CoreLogic and PropTrack track a resilient premium. Buyers accept a longer central business district commute to secure scarce coastal land. Healthy transaction depth confirms this pricing is not a temporary statistical spike, but a structural shift that locks average families out of the market. In 7th place, Little Bay serves as a cautionary tale of coastal volatility. While it cleared the $2 million threshold, settling at a 2025 median of $2.57 million, this follows a sharp 14.7% drop from its 2024 peak. This rapid swing highlights how thin transaction volume in a constrained coastal fringe market can distort pricing metrics. For Middle Sydney buyers, a low sales count and tight housing supply mean a handful of high-end transactions can easily inflate the median, proving that crossing this premium barrier is not always permanent. In 6th place, North Epping proves the $2 million threshold is expanding beyond premier coastal enclaves. Driven by a deep pool of owner-occupiers and intense school catchment demand, this quiet, detached housing market climbed steadily to a $2.02 million median. PropTrack and CoreLogic 3-year trendlines trace a steady trajectory fueled by families upsizing within the leafy upper North Shore. With high detached home ratios and reliable transit links 15 kilometers from the CBD, consistent transaction turnover supports this high pricing. It reveals a stark reality. Middle-ring family sanctuaries are now priced as luxury zones. In the 5th place, Westleigh serves as a reliability test for the $2 million mark. The median house price sits at $1,977,500, showing a quiet 1.7% annual decline. PropTrack's 30-sale minimum threshold explains why sample sizes matter. In quiet pockets where owner-occupiers hold on to detached properties for decades, transaction data is incredibly thin. This lack of market depth means a few high-end transactions can easily distort the median. Buyers must realize that without consistent sales volume, these figures offer a fragile reading of local values. In 4th place, Fairfield represents the transition from luxury coastal enclaves to a mainstream middle-ring squeeze. In March 2025, CoreLogic data recorded this suburb crossing the $2 million median house price for the first time. Driven by established housing, transit access, and employment corridor links, Fairfield is a practical market rather than a prestige one. Prior listing data of $1.15 million showed a 21% yearly jump leading to this breach. For typical family buyers, this rapid ascent redefines market access, locking out those who once counted on Middle Sydney as an achievable option. In third place, Claremont Meadows shows a structural repricing of Sydney's on Outer West. This family-dominated suburb, 28 kilometers from the central business district, climbed from a median of $1.58 million in 2022 to $1.9 million by 2025. Driven by demand for detached homes near the WestConnex transport corridor, this 20% surge marks a catch-up phase from a lower base. Consistent sales depth confirms this shift is broad, warning middle-income buyers that even once attainable outer ring havens are fast becoming premium territory. In second place, Rosemeadow represents the ultimate Southwest affordability shock. This pure family house market, sitting over 50 kilometers from the central business district, recently breached the $2 million median threshold. Tracking 3-year data from CoreLogic and PropTrack, the suburb surged from $1.57 million in 2022 to over $1.89 million, fueled by land constraints rather than local prestige. High transaction depth proves this is a structural shift, not a thin sample statistical anomaly. However, platform reporting lags suggest buyers should treat this fresh crossing with caution, as it highlights systemic and outer ring escalation. And finally, in first place, Cabramatta serves as the clearest signal that the $2 million baseline has officially claimed everyday Middle Sydney. Far from a prestige coastal enclave, this suburb's entry into the club during 2024 and 2025 is driven by practical family demand and acute stock scarcity. Tracking its 36-month trajectory reveals a powerful compound annual growth rate, where robust rolling turnover and consistent transaction depth prove this milestone is no statistical anomaly. For middle-income buyers, Cabramatta's rapid ascent proves that traditional affordability boundaries have permanently shifted, locking typical families out of what was once an accessible Western heartland. The stark reality is that middle-ring family zones are now priced strictly as premium markets. Also worth considering is the 15-suburb driver matrix, which maps how this price line has migrated far into Middle Sydney. When plotting the 3-year compound annual growth rate against distance to the central business district, a clear pattern emerges. Traditional premium locations rely on proximity, but the outer ring entries are propelled by specific drivers like transport upgrades, zoning changes for higher density, and amenity spillover from neighboring high-value pockets. High detached housing concentrations combined with low historical sales turnover have compressed supply, creating upward pressure that forces buyers to pay premium prices far from the city center. Yet, analyzing this matrix requires careful attention to several major data caveats. First, these calculations work with a small suburb sample, meaning the statistical power of these correlations is relatively low. In quiet areas like Westleigh, a low turnover environment can easily skew the median upward, if only a few high-end properties trade hands in a quiet quarter. There are also significant methodological differences between the two main data providers. PropTrack uses actual settlement dates and excludes any suburb with fewer than 30 sales over a 12-month period to filter out short-term volatility. CoreLogic relies on contract dates and applies weighted moving averages to smooth out thin transaction volume. This explains why the same suburb can display a 5% price discrepancy between platforms, representing a $100,000 gap on a $2 million property. For home buyers trying to find value in Middle Sydney, these numbers translate into immediate practical actions. First, always verify the sales depth over the last 12 months to ensure the median is supported by consistent activity rather than a few isolated transactions. Second, compare the reported median with the actual distribution of property sales in the area. If most homes sell well below $2 million, a high median might simply reflect a few modern custom builds skewing the average. Third, check both data vendors to see if their pricing models align, and ask local real estate agents exactly how many comparable sales were used to establish current pricing. The essential lesson is cautionary. A suburb crossing the $2 million barrier is not an automatic signal of future outperformance. For a typical family with a fixed budget, this migration of high prices means making much harder trade-offs between distance, block size, and property type. Relying solely on headline price milestones can lead to overpaying in a thin market where actual transaction depth does not support the premium. Across these 15 entries, one structural shift is clear. $2 million is no longer a luxury tier, but Sydney's new baseline. This rapid outer ring repricing permanently locks out middle-income buyers. What suburb surprised you most? Let us know below.